It was 9 days of inking over the course of 12 days. So I arrived jet lagged. I had a day to recover, went into the studio. We were covering so much ground. We did 4 days of 10-hour days, 3 days off to recover, and then I did 5 days with his assistant finishing me on the 5th day. Hi, I'm Brad Carpenter. I'm a television producer. I live in New York, and I love my body art. I was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. I am the anomaly in my family. People don't know how I seem to have come from this relatively conservative family in Des Moines, raised Jewish. So no, I'm not going to be buried in a Jewish cemetery anytime soon. And but it was a great place to grow up. Des Moines was awesome. I had a great family and fun high school experience, and it was just fantastic beginning to a life. So the first time I saw tattoos in any kind of meaningful way was really when I moved to Los Angeles. It's not that I hadn't seen tattoos then, but in the gay community, there was a lot of very masculine, kind of tribal, not really the best kind of tattoos, but I was really drawn to how they looked on men and how it sometimes accentuated their musculature. So it had drawn my attention, and I was very much really craving having some of that ink myself. And so even though I was craving ink in the 90s, I didn't actually get my first tattoo until I think 2013, because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. It was like I just didn't have that inspiration, so I just did nothing, which was really frustrating. So I'm a post-production producer. I work on scripted television. I was working on this show called Nurse Jackie, and we had this weird, trippy episode where Nurse Jackie is going through a forced detox, and she has this fever dream. And one of the tasks I had was to place an animated tattoo on Grace, her daughter. Birds came to life, and the animals started to move, and they all like flew off her arm. And I worked on that thing for weeks. And that was actually the thing that finally made me go, okay, I'm gonna get ink for myself. I started my tattoo journey at age 52. One may think that's a little late, but I had the advantage of knowing myself a lot better at 52 than if I had actually gotten some ink in my 20s or even in 1990 at age 30. And I was always fascinated with the tree of life. That had a lot of resonance for me. And I found this lovely Celtic design. So it was a little more abstract and sleek. And I thought, that could look really nice on my shoulder. And then I also wanted to commemorate the fact that I am Jewish, and I have a great Hebrew name. It's Baruch, which means blessed. I was so empowered by having that first bit of ink that I had finally taken this step. I was researching an ink project that I had been developing forever called Inkman, and I was literally Googling sacred armor, tattooed sacred armor, and I was seeing what came up. That's when I first saw the designs of Peter Oakman. I looked at that art, my jaw dropped. I had never seen these large pieces of just huge designs on athletic men, beautiful women, just fully conceptualized, thought out designs on a large canvas. I said, I want a mandala, the center of my back, and then I want the design, whatever you do, to follow the trapezius. However you do that is totally up to you. And it was great, because I was speaking his language, I was talking about musculature, and I was giving him artistic freedom. And I work with artists all the time, and you don't want to be too prescriptive. You want them to come up with the design and make it better than you could have imagined. And that's what he did. We kept expanding the plan with the upper body. The problem with the tattoo on the back, it was so beautiful, and I hardly ever got to see it. So I was like, Peter, your next visit, I want you to ink my chest. I want to be able to see it every day. It's my biggest, most present canvas. My husband, Chris, he has a little bit of commitment phobia with relation to my tattoos. He would always get a little worried when I was going into the tattoo because he knew that it was my choice and he had no control, and that really bugged him. So he comes to me and he goes, so you're gonna get a tattoo somewhere on your chest. And I went, yes, honey, somewhere on my chest. Not telling him that it was gonna be my entire chest. And so I had the first session with Peter where we did the outline that day. And Chris came home and goes, well, I was afraid that the tattoo was going to obscure your beautiful chest, but I see that it's just accentuating it. So I'm good with that. Once I had tattooed my chest, then he was like, look, you guys are having great taste. You're doing a good job. I'm not going to worry about it. So then at a point, Peter was like, you know, you're really top heavy. We need to do something on your legs. And I was like, well, yes, you know, I hadn't even really thought about legs, but yes, of course. A lot of what we do is sort of purposefully asymmetrical work. And the design is like that, where the design on the knee is actually reverse inverted on the left knee. And it goes together, it fits, but it's deliberately not a complete mirror image. And then the idea is on the sides, they are meant to be symmetrical, but because he hand draws these designs on me, he's designing in three-dimensional space, and it's according to the contours of the body. So when you look at this bodysuit, everything connects. There are motifs in the suit that connect, designs, patterns on the inside of my legs, and there's a tiny version of that on the stripes on my chest. Like, there's so much detail that coincides together. It's as cohesive a bodysuit as you could have, and that has a lot to do with this relationship that I've had with this artist. So when people ask me, well, what is it? What is your tattoo? What does it mean? What I always tell them is it's intended to be spiritual armor, but in a very modern sort of way. There are pieces in it that are almost like rivets. The way that it follows the musculature, the way the V comes down, and then these little panels of armor along the way. All of it is meant to be my spiritual armor. I became HIV positive at a very young age. Like when I was 25, it was actually diagnosed when I was 27. This is in '87. So there were no treatments, medications. It was like, you know, I was on the 2 to 5 year life plan. So that really formed a lot about my young adult life. I lost all my friends. They all died. I went to a lot of memorials. I nursed a lot of them in the hospital. So when I came to LA in 1990, there it was all about gym culture and building yourself up. And the thing about HIV is the first thing that usually gets you is wasting, you know, and if you lose your body mass, you become more vulnerable to disease. So building up musculature was like putting armor on my body. I considered my musculature my armor. And then later in life, in my 50s, I tattooed armor on my armor. So in a way, it was to help preserve that idea physically, emotionally, spiritually of having the protection of armor. I think I had to be where I was really ready. I had to know who I was, have a better sense of what I wanted. I had to care less about what other people thought of that journey. I had to be more honest to my journey. I think 52 was actually when it was meant to start. And I think that having armor on my armor was just the right step for my 50s. I mean, I'm going to be 63 in September, and I'm still at a creative growth point in my life and career, and this is just part of it. And I just love that it's something new, that I get to be a little different as this journey evolves and people see me in a different way. I've not just settled into some routine that's going to be diminishing, you know, over the years. I'm still changing and growing, and I think it's actually more valuable that I'm having this journey now than if it had started earlier in my life.